Hello, welcome to this video. And on this video I'm going to ask the question, should old people be allowed to create, or should everybody be killed at 60 years old? I've said 60 years old because I'm 56. If I was 60 years old I would probably be saying the same thing, but saying should everyone be killed at 65 years old. Now in Logan's run it was 30 years old, wasn't it? When you got to 30, you were done. You know, you'd reproduced, you'd done your thing, and then that was it. Bump. You're dead. Right, old people. What are they good for? Absolutely nothing. Say it again. Old people. Well, I'm an old person now. I'm 56 years old. It's snuck up on me now. I don't think I'm old. I think I'm still young. I still think the world works like when I was young. But it doesn't, and that creates an existential crisis in me, right? Because I'm old. And this video is going to tap into that angst heavily, right? I don't know where I'm going with this one at all. That title's expressing how I feel. I still make records. I'm still in bands. You know, I make these YouTube videos and talk about music. But underneath this, I have this nagging feeling that because I'm 56 years old, I shouldn't really have a say. That my say is not valuable. I'm talking to a bunch of other old people, because the average age of my channel is 55 to 65 or 70. That's the average age of the viewers out there. So I'm aware I'm talking to men of a certain age as well. And I'm sure the success is there because there's probably not that many people out there talking about this, right? There's some young people find their way to this channel every now and then, you know, inquisitive youths who want to do a little bit about weather report, know a little bit more, and they come here, right? And they have to sift through the grumpy old man's talk to get to the actual information. Oh, come on, Andy, stop going on. You're just a grumpy old boomer. Right, you've got a certain view of the world, and we have this thing, the boom. I've talked about this again, but this video is going to be about something else, because the dark shadow of death has come over this channel. Recently, I've found that the subtext of many of my videos is death. Right, so here I am, 56 years old. My whole life has been given to music. That's all I've done my whole life. Started playing the drums when I was 11, 12 years old. By the time I was 22, I was earning my living, you know, teaching the drums and playing in covers bands. And for the last 30 odd years, up until 56, I have been able to, you know, have a career, you know, buy my house by scraping around doing all sorts of different music related things. Teaching music in colleges, producing music, playing the drums in bands and all that type of stuff. And now part of my income comes from this channel where I talk about music. So I'm very lucky in a way, because I've been able to I've had this experience of giving my life to music, right? Since I was like 12 years old. And now I have a certain perspective on it as a musician that hasn't become worldwide famous, right? But I have recorded a few albums, I've played with a few famous people, and I've also taught music, and I can now sort of give that back to the public, can't I? But I have this overwhelming feeling, I'm going to explore it on this video, that really my creative voice is not that valid. I'm white, I'm male, I'm middle class, I'm old, right? So really my voice is not that important, and can be just poo-pooed away very easily by pointing any of those things out, right? Somebody once had a go at me by saying, we really don't need another grey-haired middle-aged guy sat in front of his record collection, you know, talking. I find that really disgusting as a comment, right? it usually comes from those on the left that believe they're all, conscious of identity. All right? And I don't want this to turn into some old bloke moaning on about the fact that I'm now become a sort of minority at the bottom of the pile. Because I think what's really going on is nothing to do with that. Well, yes, it is something to do with that, but I just want to sidestep it. Because I know I'll get into trouble. Us all grumpy old men always get into trouble being a bit politically incorrect, aren't we? We don't quite understand it. Always putting our foot in it. Aren't we? Call a Native American a red Indian and someone's there. Oh, God, when I was a kid, we used to play cowboys and Indians and we call them Indian. I'm trying my hardest. You see, the way we talk, the way we do, it's not good enough. It's not good enough for this new world that we live in. Right? But I have another angst when it comes to this. It's the creating stuff. I've got my studio over there. I create music fundamentally because it makes my head not go mad. Right? I suffer with mental health issues, anxiety mostly, and a bit of depression, but mainly anxiety with me. I've had it all my life, right? If I'm creating music, I just haven't got it. When my brain is on that, right, my brain is like an awful churning machine, and it needs to be churned onto something out in the world aesthetic. Once it's on that and it's operating properly, I work well. If you take that away with me, I don't. So I've got to create stuff, right? I create stuff all the time. Right, I don't have much time. I've got a family, I've got kids, but you will notice I do 4 videos a week. And the reason I do 4 videos a week is because I have to now. But originally it originated out because coming in here and letting my mind free on these subjects, these aesthetic subjects, I find it very enjoyable and I find it very stimulating and I find it quells the demon. Right? So I've got to keep going. But when I make my music now, I'm very aware that I'm 56 years old. So the music I make is irrelevant because it's about the youth, isn't it? It's about the youth. Now I'm going to explain to you why that is. In the 1960s, we had a generation that had come up as teenagers in the 1950s, right? There was some affluence there, especially in America, not so much here in the UK, but there was some affluence there. People could get jobs. My mum and dad's, I can remember my dad said in the 1950s you could walk out of a job on Friday and go and get another job on Monday. Kids had jobs, they had money. Right? They'd gone through the Second World War as children and they wanted things to go different. And in that want to go different, they looked out for other voices, other stuff that was being said. Now they suddenly, the door opened to the voices coming from the black community, the gay community, from women, but most importantly from young people. This idea that the voice of the youth, which had been repressed, what do young people know? They don't know anything, do they? They're just young, they haven't experienced life, we don't listen to them. And the teenagers go, you should be listening to us. Before you know it, you've got the Who singing My Generation. As he stutters his way through that genius, he stutters his way, there they are, the youth suddenly got a voice, they can't quite get their voice out. This is incredible. And they could say what they thought, the way they went through the world to be. The Beatles changed culture, right? They changed music, they changed art, they changed absolutely everything before the age of 30. I used to say to my students when I was teaching, when you've got some 18-year-old kid that's trying to get into the music industry, they're only 18 years old, and I'd say, look, you've got till 27. If you haven't done something by then you're not going to do it. By 27, you'll have achieved whatever you've achieved, and then that will be it. There's a few exceptions, like Wes Montgomery, becoming famous in his sort of 40s. But on the whole, it's about young people. Now that didn't happen, and it was a breakthrough. Rock music was a breakthrough to have this voice. It was about progressiveness. It was about progressing. It was about the future. But with that idea atrophies. And now we live in a world where the voices of the young have become creatively the most important voices, right? Now, that is important. I'll tell you why it's important, because the music industry works a certain way. the way our music industry works is it makes its money out of people liking music, right? It markets those music to a people, right? You come up, when you get to 11, 12 years old, you will like anything that's out there. Whatever music is in front of you when you're 11, 12 years old, you will like, right? Nobody's picky when they're 11, 12 years old. So whatever pop music is out there, you will hear and you will like it. Now your tastes as you become a teenager and grow up, they shift and change. By the time you got to 16 and 17, your tastes are fixed. And for most people, once they get to their 20s, they just carry on liking whatever they liked up until that age. It just is fixed at that point. You know, now we have a whole bunch of 50-year-old guys walking around with those Celtic tattoos on their arm. They've gone bald, so they've shaved their head, they've got the big beard, and they're still listening to Soundgarden and Rage Against the Machine. And they'll be listening to those bands when they peg it. Right? It's not going to change at all, ever. Right? So, oh. Hello, Josh. I've had a little boy come to see me. I'm filming a YouTube video. You don't want to come on here? Do you want just to shout hello? Go, hello everyone.
Hi.
Hello Josh. My friend's son Josh has come round. I've got to shoot this video, Josh, so you're going to have to go. Is that alright? I'll come and see you once I'm done.
Yeah.
Don't you think it's weird that I'm talking about the youth and then Josh has come in? He's only about 5 years old. There's the youth. There's the voice of the youth been descending on me. You know, a nice little lad's come in just to warn me. No, it's better. Don't be so mean on the young people, Andy. You know, the young people are the future. So that's tempered me. That is, you know. Thank you, God, for doing that. I welcome these little, you know, moments like that come in and just knock me back on track. Let's not knock the youth, right? We don't want to knock the youth. Just because opening our eyes and ears up to the voices of young people has ended up with that Swedish doom fairy, Greta Thunberg. Right? That's where you end up, isn't it? Oh, don't knock Greta, Andy. What are you knocking her for? What, you're not one of those anti-climate change people, are you? I'm a grumpy old man. I'm a grumpy old man. I don't want the climate to change. A little bit hotter. I mean, it's February here and it's quite enjoyable. I'm in my studio, I ain't got my heating on. It's not too bad, is it? You know. You don't want to worry about climate change. It's World War III you want to worry about. So, you know, we're in a situation where we're going into World War III. We got Putin, who was in his 70s, right? How long's he got to go? If he pushes the button, does it really matter? Right? But we don't have to worry because we've got President Biden, head of the free world. He's not old and decrepit, is he? And if he doesn't get in, we'll have Trump. He's only 76 years old. It doesn't change. The world's still run by decrepit old people, and it always will be. But culturally, you haven't got an artistic voice unless you're a young person. It comes from rock and roll. It was an incredible thing, but now it's atrophied. Now, I was going to try and explain something before young Josh came in and put me off my train of thought. If you... I've already covered this, haven't I? You get to a certain age, you like the music you like, and then that's it. And the way the music industry does it, it grabs you and it will then pull everything out of you. You know, it goes, oh, you like the Smiths, do you? Well, we've got a new best of coming out, or we've got this coming out, or we've got a tour coming out. Oh, you like Foreigner, do you? We've got a new best of coming out. And those bands will tour and tour. And now they're like in their 70s, still going like this. And all the audiences are coming in all decrepit and trying to do this. You know, that is fixed. So how do you get new blood? How do you get new stuff to happen? Because if you don't replenish at the front, you're going to have no industry left. So young people become the arbiters of newness, right? When I used to teach young people, all us old people was always wondering what was cool. But if you're a 16-year-old, cool is whatever you like. Right? If they turn around and go, oh, I like Fleetwood Mac. Oh, would you like Fleetwood Mac? Then Fleetwood Mac's the coolest thing. They go to becoming cool. When Strange Things, that TV show, put Kate Bush on. Kate Bush is like 60 years old, and it hit with Running Up That Hill like 35 years ago. But when it went in, the young people suddenly thought it was cool. All those old people knew it was cool. But now young people think it's cool. They think bloody Sophie Ellis-Bextor's cool. Sophie Ellis-Bextor was never cool. She's just a poshie with a drum machine. That's all she is. But they think it's cool. My daughter, who's 13, is running around singing Murder on the Dance Floor all the time because it's cool. Whatever young people think is cool, and it has to happen like that because they're the only ones that are going to take on anything new. If you get someone like my age, to get me to like something new is like I need an operation on my brain for that to happen. I know what I like and I like what I know. Right? I'd be quite happy to just stay with. I don't want to listen to new music. All the time people are sending me links. Check out this new band. I don't want to listen to new bands. I don't want to. I'm old. Right? I'm old. But I still want to create music. I will still want to try and make new music as far as I'm concerned. But am I just using the sort of aesthetic criteria that I'd sort of developed in the early 1990s? And really I'm just trying to be like Portishead. Are my, and this is where it gets ridiculous. I grew up listening to heavy metal, Iron Maiden, Motorhead, Judas Priest. Then I moved on to prog and I like Yes and Genesis. Then I moved on to jazz fusion and I like Mahavishnu Orchestra, Return to Forever. Then I got heavily into jazz, Coltrane, Ornette Coleman. That took me to avant-garde music and I started to listen to things like Bill Laswell, electronic music. And by the time I got to my early 20s into the 1990s, you had Aphex Twin coming out, Square Pusher, and experimental avant-garde music seemed to be also touching with the music of my youth. And back then, I felt cutting edge. I was listening to Ornette Coleman, I was listening to Steve Reich, I was listening to Aphex Twin, I was listening to Diggable Planets, I was listening to Goldie. It was an incredible thing and I felt I was in the middle of it. And I felt free that I could just do whatever I wanted. And this thing of liking progressive rock, of being able to do any genre, do anything, push it to the limits, that is what progressive was to me. And I took that, and that aesthetic is still with me now. Right? I still want to create, I still want to do something which is new to me, which delights me. Always, I want to question what I'm trying to do. You know, most of the albums I do always start with a thought. Every single one. The last album I made is called Off Grid, and I thought I want to record my drums with just a couple of microphones and no click, and I want to let myself go out of time, and I want to make an album like that because people don't do that anymore. But I want to utilize the computers to get into that, to make the drumming itself become the starting point for the music. You know, for the drumming to be playing the keyboard. So that was my idea. Now, this has been done in certain ways before, but it hasn't been done by me, and I have my artistic voice, you know, which is really coming out of jazz, really coming out of improvisation, and there's a lot of soloing, and I've recently really been getting into the guitar, because a lot of the incredible guitarists that come out sound, in terms of tone and harmonic approach, sound very conservative to me, and I want to bring in all the weird effects, avant-garde jazz, free improvisation, noise. I want to bring all that back into guitar playing. Now, nobody's listening, nobody cares, but that's what I want to do. But there's a part of me that goes, yeah, but none of this is valid, Andy, because you're old, and whatever your viewpoint is, it is old. So the question is here, is it the point that once you get old, creatively, you should be like kept away from culture? Old people shouldn't have anything to say. Now, as soon as I say that, that feels wrong to me. And it feels wrong for the very reasons why we opened ourselves up to these special voices in the 1960s. We wanted an alternative voice to be heard, right? But now those alternative voices have become the only voices that have been heard. And it doesn't take very long to find somebody of some identity group telling me that I can't speak on this subject because I don't belong to that identity group. Which is a little bit like being a fascist, really, isn't it? Every voices should be heard. Yeah, but Andy, you're the white middle-class male, you belong to the privileged identity group. Your voice is always being heard. And so we need to actively work against that. We need to shut you up. No. Right? It was wrong to shut those people up because it's wrong to shut anybody up. And culturally, it would be interesting to again open ourselves up to voices that aren't being heard. For I think it would be interesting for this as an idea to raise itself up. So when you have an artist like Bob Dylan, the lyrics he's making at like 22 years old in the early 60s, they've been, he's won a Nobel Prize, Pulitzer Prize, he's seen as one of the great poets. But there he is as an old man. He's an old man now, and his viewpoint's changed. And a lot of people, Van Morrison, Eric Clapton, their viewpoint's been unpalatable for the culture. In the same way that all those black people and gay people and young people, their viewpoint was unpalatable back in the 60s. Right? The great unpalatable thing now is anything that challenges the ideology of identity. Now, people think I'm against it. I'm not. I think I love rock music, I love blues, I love jazz. The reason I love it is because it gave a voice to alternative people and it pushed society forward and it made the world a better place to live because it championed tolerance. Right? That's why. And we have to hold on to that as a value. Now, the values that came out of that, the ideologies that came out of that have atrophied now. And they've now become rules in themselves. The utility of the rules has been forgotten. Right? So the idea of going, we need to listen to what black people are saying, that has now become an ideological thing. And it's span round. And the sort of fascist conservative elements, which are now the progressive left, to turn around and say they're the only people we should listen to. Right? And we've actually come up with a thing called intersectionality, which scores you points. So the more you points of lack of privilege you can stock up, then the more voice you should have. Right? I really want to preserve the idea that minorities and the underprivileged have a voice. Because I think the trouble is once you say identity groups have a voice, right, you shut off other people who are underprivileged who don't have a voice. What we should have is the underprivileged having a voice. And the only way to safeguard that is by saying everybody should have a voice, however unpalatable it is what they are trying to do or say. So for me, I think it would be interesting to explore the idea of all the art and music that is being created by older people now. Of course I'm going to say that, right? And why do I say that? Because if I can't create music, I'm going to do whatever. Even if nobody's listening, I'm going to still create music because I have to stay alive. So the joke on the title of this, should everyone be killed at 60 years old? For me, it is a life and death choice. I'm going to do it till I drop dead. And I don't really want to carry on doing it feeling like that I should really grow up and get a proper job. Because that is an overwhelming feeling at the moment for me. I've reached the age of 56 where I feel that I should be in a certain place, but I'm not in that place. And do you know why? Because I'm a product of the generation from which I come. Right? And what I aimed at as a young person, I've achieved. Right? I didn't want to become like my dad. I didn't want to become a boss of a company or a manager of a certain place or amass vast wealth. I wanted to spend my life being creative. Well, it's your own fault then, Andy, if you've done that. You should have feathered your own nest, shouldn't you? You should have been doing all this creative stuff. You've had all this fun up until now, and now you arrive at this point, you're moaning about it because you should have, just set yourself up a company, putting in central heating systems like I had to and make my money that way. And now I'm this age, and I've got a few people working for me. I can afford all these vinyl albums. I can afford to sit there with my big stereo and have a bit of time with the wife, to relax. You shouldn't be moaning just because you spent your whole time on bands, on tour, doing all that sort of stuff, having a good time. Now you've got to reap the rewards. And the rewards for you are having no money. It's true. All that is true. I need to grow up. I need to grow up, don't I? How many of you out there, people who are similar age and me, feel the same way? I'm hoping that this video beams out there, and what happens is people watching this are going, oh my God, Andy said something that I've been thinking, but no one else is saying. I feel the same. I feel like I need to grow up. We have flapped, our generation has flapped around. We've flapped around the product of the culture that we came from, doing all sorts of different things, not really knowing. Not knowing is my life. That has been it, right? I've fallen into one thing, fallen into another thing, right? But the central thing that's kept me going is the need to create. The need to make stuff, aesthetic stuff, and get it out there. That's a really important part of it. Getting out there is really important. I don't know whether I would do it if I didn't. I only need one person to listen to it. But there has to be that conversation. You know, it's the same with these YouTube videos. I mean, it does me good to come in and talk like this. This is cathartic. I'm getting something off my chest. It probably would help for me to come in, and it would probably be better for my mental health to do this and then get the recording and just sit it on the side there, and then be a big load of videos that nobody's ever watched. And maybe when I die, they'd break in and they go, oh my, what's this? What's he got here? Oh my God, he's gone through his 10 favourite Weather Report albums. Who wants to see that? I don't know. There's a lot of them. Stick him in the tip, you know. And there's my legacy gone. There's my pitch for immortality gone. But I'm going to live forever. Fame. I'm going to live forever. I'm going to learn how to fly. You know why? Because I got videos on YouTube. As long as YouTube's there, I've been watching these videos recently, but it's horrifying, and nobody discusses this. Say you're a YouTuber like me of a certain age, right? And I'm making these YouTube videos. I've got a certain following. You're all watching the channel, right? I go to the doctors, and they turn around and say, you got cancer, you got 4 weeks to live. Then I can't just disappear, right? I'm going to have to come in here and say, look, I'm going to have to tell you something terrible here. I've got 4 weeks to live, so this is going to be one of my last videos, right? The YouTubers who have done that, those videos go into the millions. As this sort of voyeuristic, you know, memento mori that is put out there. Everyone, you watch it and you go, oh my God, this is awful. Look at I'd hate to be in that position. But I know I'm going to be in that position at some point in the future. So it's horrible. It's horrible. I don't want to look at it. It's compelling. Right, there's a whole thing of it. And once you look at one, don't look at one, because once you look at the one, the YouTube algorithm will be like going, oh, so you want to see more soon-to-be-dead people, do you? And they'll send them your way, and they're depressing. And then you feel bad because you think, well, I can just switch that off. Right? Death. Death's stalking me at the moment. It's stalking me. It's on my shoulder. Right? I don't want to die. I thought when I got to 56 I wouldn't be scared of dying anymore. When I was little I was scared of dying, but now I'm still a bit scared of dying. I'm not scared of dying as I used to be, but I still don't like the idea of it. I mean, what's it going to be? Is it going to be that black velvet nothingness that we're all terrified of? Or even worse, I may end up going to go to heaven and going to have to hang around with Christians. Oh my God, can you think of anything worse than hanging around with Christians? Do-gooders, you know, sitting there going smug, going, see, I told you I was right, Andy. Yeah, but I'm here anyway, because in my idea of a heaven, I'm going to go there. But what if there's a hell, right? What if there's a hell? And I look up and I see all my Christian mates up there going, Andy, I did try and tell you. I tried to tell you. I can't believe this. I can't. It was bad enough on earth, but I didn't realise that what I did would end me up here. Consequences. I was listening to Motorhead and Iron Maiden. I just thought I could go and do what I wanted. You know, I thought I was a rock and roll rebel. Yeah, but did you listen to any of those records? It said to you over and over again. You had got the ACDs. I was trying to tell you, Highway to Hell. Bon Scott was on a highway to hell. He said he was on a highway to hell. He died a few months later. You know, and he's down here. He's loving it. I haven't seen Bon Scott. Is Bon Scott down? Oh, Bon Scott's down here. He's having a chat to Goebbels at the moment. They get on like a house on fire. So, I don't know. I just don't. Where have I got with this video? Where have I got really? Nowhere. Just a middle-aged man who's scared of dying that doesn't know whether what he says has got any relevance or not. So I've got two choices. That's real death. Irrelevance. That is death. To fall into irrelevance. You don't matter anymore. Nobody cares what you say. Nobody cares what you do. You know, you are going to end up sat on the side of the street screaming at the wind while people walk past you ignoring you because you're an old mad person. Right? We don't look after our old people. We used to in the old days when we had communities and stuff like that, but we don't now. Make sure you keep your family around you. Make sure you got some contacts, because if not, you will pass away in your house and nobody will know until the smell alerts someone to knock the door and open it in. And when they get inside, they'll find out that the cat's stayed alive by eating your face for the last 4 weeks. God, this is dark. This is what I've got in me. This is the catastrophizing dark and doom that is in me, deep down in me, and I have to get it out some way. If I just let myself talk, you'll get this in bucket loads, right? But I want to get into my music. I want to express this angst in my music, and I want people to listen to it. I want people to know I'm still here. I want to have a voice. Us old people, we just don't want to go away. You know, medical science means we're going to live longer now. In the old days, we'd be dead. I would have been dead, mauled by a bear, because I couldn't run fast enough, because my piles are playing me up. Oh, bloody hell, he's going to get me. All these piles are in. Old youngster there, they can run. They're not encumbered by hemorrhoids like me. I just go whoop, and then he's got you. The bear's got you. Bear's like, oh, God, I got one of the old ones. I don't know, this one goes, got piles. This has got to be one of the most stupid videos I've ever done. We're up at half an hour. It's a Philosophy Sunday video. This isn't philosophy though. There's no thought behind this one. This is just ranting old man rubbish. This is what we really have got. The semblance of sense that hovers over my videos with, you know, terms like postmodernism and intersectionality. It's nonsense. I'm just a confused old man. And I bet you're a confused old man too. Come and join the Confused Old Man Club. We can create a club here. Maybe that's what it's all about. Maybe we need to be like middle-aged separatists, like the Ku Klux Klan. Maybe we need to create some little kingdom that we exist in, our own country. We need our own country like Israel, where the old people can go and live. The young people will all be happy because they don't want us around. They want it like Logan's Run. They just want us finished off. Right? Can you imagine how wonderful that country would be, full of old, grumpy, middle-aged people? It would be orderly, it would be tidy, you know, you wouldn't get beaten up, you wouldn't have to worry when you went out on the streets. You know, there'd be bands out there, they'd sound great, they'd be doing Led Zeppelin songs and the Beatles, you know, and you'd be able to park your car and walk and be safe, and you'd be able to get a nice dinner, bacon sandwich in the morning, cup of tea. These would be the great things that were valued. You know, it would be a wonderful place. Old Agia. That's what I'm going to call it, old age. I'm going to have my own country. I want to become an old age separatist. I don't want any of these young people coming polluting my ideas of how the world should be. Right? I want my own country. I should be king of the country because I've come up with the idea for this place. Right? You can only get in once you're 50 years old. Right? And once you're there, you have to club your pensions and the bits of money you get from your savings. That gets all pulled into one great big communist sort of pot of money, and then everybody gets paid the same. Right? We'd all live in a sort of communist utopia where all the old age people can just live and we'd be happy, because we don't want much, do we? We don't want much, do we? You know, you'd forget about the youths, right? Once you haven't got young people being attractive, your standards will lower, but so that you'd be able to then go out and socialise and go back out. You know, if your wife has died, you could go out and find other old women that, because you'll only see them, it would be like the lens of old age would make them look more attractive, wouldn't it? God, I'm going to keep talking like this. I'm going to keep talking to see where this goes, because it's frightening me where I'm going with this. So where are we at now? I'm going to create a communist utopia for old people, where the old people will be able to fornicate because they won't have their eyes tarnished by the beauty of youth. Evil youth. Evil young people with their young ways, right? Which is all based upon not knowing anything, having no experience. Not being able to tell the difference between Led Zeppelin and Greta Van Fleet. I wanted to come to a conclusion on this, but the conclusion that I've come to is I'm a grumpy old man. And there's a whole horrible cesspit of bad thoughts that come from being a grumpy old man. Alright? I'm a bit like a dog that's been mistreated, really. And I'm trying to do the right thing. I'm trying to sit there and look nice, but nobody wants me because I'm the ugly old smelly dog. And if I'm pushed, I'm going to bite. Oh, I'm done. Rick Beato doesn't go here, does he? I mean, he's older than me. He's 60 odd now. Right, his hair's completely white. But he's a happy man. You know why he's a happy man? Because he made a ton of money. Right? He made a ton of money teaching, and then he made a ton of money producing, and then he set a YouTube up, and he's been blessed. He's been blessed by the gods of YouTube, he has. God knows how much money. Look at his studio compared to mine. His is dark and goes on forever, and it's filled with all expensive stuff. He's got better drum kits than I have. And he don't even play the bloody drums. But he does play the drums because he can do everything, can't he? Rick Beato can. He's a role model for anyone of my age. He really is. I look up to Rick Beato. Like almost like a father figure, even though he's only like about 5 years older than me. But I look to him in like a father figure, Rick Beato. He watches the channel as well. He watches it. And he's a grumpy old man. He's the same thing. You know, he's learnt to cap. You know, he started off doing proper music theory. He was telling people how to play proper stuff. You know, oh, you've got an altered dominant chord. You can play the, you know, super Locrian natural 4 scale. You know, and that will be, harmonise it in triads. Oh, it's all brilliant stuff. He'd be there with his whiteboard, proper teacher doing the proper thing. Then he started to go, what makes this song work? And all the old people went, oh, he's going to... I always knew that ELO were great. And now Rick's explained. And as for Steely Dan, I always knew Steely Dan were the best band in the world, aren't they? I mean, listen to Larry Carlton. It's quality stuff. It's not like these modern bands where they can't bloody play. Steely Dan got proper musicians on. And the lyrics... I never listen to the lyrics, but they're very heavy if you actually do listen to it. But God, it's impressive stuff, isn't it? Rick Beato's their champion. That brings all the old people in. Steely Dan is like a magnet for old people. You know, if you wanted to trap old people, if you were hunting old people, you would see Donald Fagen doing Kid Charlemagne out there in the forest. The old people coming along, oh, what's this? Oh, that's nice, isn't it? Poor old Steve Wright, the British DJ who died yesterday. I grew up listening to Steve Wright, very funny man, but you could always guarantee that every afternoon he'd stick some Steely Dan in there. He would put it in. And the people say, why are you playing this Steely Dan for? You should be playing something that the normal people like. And he goes, yeah, I know, but you don't understand. It's like a magnet for a certain type of middle-aged man. It just pulls them in. The ones with the expensive stereos, it pulls them in, traps them. It's like old man bait, Steely Dan is. Rick Beato capitalised on that. And then once he got there, he found this new thing he could do. All he had to do was sit there and listen to the top 10 on Spotify. He didn't even have to criticise it that much. Right, he's not going to criticise it because he wants to make sure he doesn't upset anybody. But just a few looks and a few, you know, and then he's pushed it. When he first started doing it, he was trying to see the worst, but more recently he's got more nastier, hasn't he? And we enjoy it. I love the tension of, I know Rick wants just to say, what is this? Bloody same old drum beat. One chord all the way through, played with one finger, and some singer going on about sex through an auto-tuned box. This is awful. I'm used to Steely Dan. That's what Rick's done. That's his great. That's what he's given to modern culture. And all us old musician types, we all mass around. I love him. And then who's he going to interview today? Another old bloke. Who is it? It's Andy Summers. How old's Andy Summers? 80 bloody years old. That's how old he is. And what's he going to tell us about? He's going to tell us about when he was at the police 40 odd years ago. Because the police were bloody brilliant. Andy Summers is brilliant, but he goes right back. He's friends with Hendrix. Hendrix! He knew Jimi Hendrix. Oh God, he did. Oh, it's amazing now all our heroes have been, you know, elevated to the level of gods by the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, haven't they? They're in there, they're in the hallowed Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's only this there for us old people. The young people don't care about it. It's a tomb. It's a tomb that we can look at and remember deep down that we will be ending up in that tomb at some point, because we're close to death, aren't we? Oh, I don't like it, I don't like it. There's no way of escaping it. Right? This is the fact. We've had our lives. We've had our lives. We're at the fag end of it now. We're at the fag end of it. We're smoking, trying to get the last bit before we hit the filter of death. And we shouldn't be bloody smoking anyway, because it's not good for you. What are you smoking for? I know in the 80s it was cool. You know, listen to your Joy Division down the pub when you're allowed to smoke in pubs, and you can put your cigarette on. Look, we can't do that anymore. You're old. You've got to stop smoking. You got to stop drinking too much. You smoke too much. You're eating too much processed foods. You need to go get cholesterol checked. You know you're not young anymore now. Death is looming. Get down the doctors. Get a finger up your bum. They need the doctor to have a feel of that prostate. What size is it? Look what happened to Frank Zappa. 53, he was dead. 53. I'm 56. I'm 3 years older than Frank Zappa ever was. Frank Zappa looks like the oldest man in the world to me. I'm older than he ever was. All my heroes are dead, all the good ones anyway. Herbie Hancock's still alive. How old's Herbie Hancock? 150. Right. I've done enough on this one, haven't I? I haven't got anywhere really. This really has been an old man rant. But as the subject has been about being an old man, and what you've got is an old man, incoherent old man rant. But I hope the cathartic effect it's had will get you, put a little bit of a bounce in your step now, is when you switch this video off. You know, hopefully you did find it funny. Right, it's good to see someone. I love to watch someone rant, especially an old man rant. I do enjoy it. You know, I do enjoy it. Rick Wakeman may have been one of the great progressive rock keyboardists of all time, but he's so much better when he's just an old man ranting, isn't he? And he's been able to move from sort of progressive rock hero to grumpy old man. He's almost trademarked grumpy old man, and I want to be in that club now. It's a good club. Us grumpy old men should stick together. Old age year. Remember it? Remember my country? Where we all live in peace and harmony. Right? We've got to stick together. And there's nothing wrong in appreciating the creative works and thoughts and doings of old and middle-aged people. They have a right to say things too. And then with a bit of wisdom, they might actually have something quite useful to say if you just listen to what they're saying, young uns. I'm definitely finished now. Am I going to put this video out even? I always put every single video out. Because the thing is, I don't know. I never know. All the videos that have boosted this channel up have been videos that I never expected would do it. So I've got to put it out. This seems like utter rubbish to me. I will put it out. You will see this video, right? If you like this video, tell me, because I'm going to put it out anyway. If it has been a load of rubbish and you're the few people that didn't switch off and go, I ain't watching this. Addy's gone nuts. He's exposed his grumpy old manness to the world. You should never do that. You've got to pretend you're not a grumpy old man, even though you are. That's the first rule of being a grumpy old man. Anyone who could see this for the reality it is, I got it completely wrong and you got to the end of the video, I do apologise. You don't have to say it in the comments. I do apologise for this pile of rubbish. And I will get back on to talking about, Genesis next week, and we'll get back to normal. But I don't know whether this is any good or not, but if it did make you laugh and and was able to take all these horrible angst that sort of old people have, and if it's been able to just release it a little bit, then I've done good. And that's what I've tried to do here. Right? Right, my wife's looking at me. She's sat in the house. We've got a friend round with a little boy, Josh, who came in. Remember Josh? He was in here, wasn't he? How long was that ago? He came in here and said something. It's interesting that happened. I do a video about old age, and he's not even a member of my household, but he walked in and came and said hello. You heard him, didn't you? If you like this video, like it. If you want to see more, subscribe. If you didn't like it, then don't like it. And if you don't want to see more, then don't subscribe. But if you did, then do those two things. And if you either want to support me in what I'm doing, or you now feel sorry for me, you could show your sympathy towards my old age position by joining my Patreon and joining a whole bunch of old grumpy people. And every Friday, well, not every Friday, but a lot of Fridays, we get together and have the Patreon meet. And that basically is old age year. You can see it in action there, right? They're all putting their income to me. I'm the king of it. I take the money, and then we all sit there and just grump at each other. And it's a wonderful thing. I've been able to find a way of monetizing grumpiness, which is a good thing. But if you don't want to support me in that way, you could put some of your vast wealth, because you had your plumbing business and you did the right thing and didn't spend your whole life just doing music, and you can help me out by putting some money in the old YouTube PayPal tip jar. I think I've finished now. I'm finished now. I'm going to go away now. I've done some silly videos this week. I'm going to go back to being serious. I'm trying to do silly, serious. I don't know which way everyone likes. You know, every time I get really serious, I'm talking proper intellectual stuff, I feel like I'm losing the audience that just wants me to come on here and be a stupid old man. Bye. See you on the next video.